Welcome everybody to the Cannabis Review. I am delighted to be joined on this episode by Dario Sabaghi. Dario is a renowned journalist. He's interested in international news, human rights and cannabis, and he's written for a lot of the world's top media publications like Forbes, High Times, Rolling Stones and Middle East Eye, to name just a few. How are you keeping, Dario?
Everything is fine, thank you.
I'm delighted to have you on the show. You've been putting out some amazing content across a various multitude of publications. So I thought it'd be great to have you on and help introduce the audience to some of the big stories that are happening at the moment. Can you maybe give everybody a quick little overview of how you got into covering cannabis as a journalist and what brought you into the space?
Yeah, basically I started covering cannabis like 2 or 3 years ago, and working with English publication with Word. I started covering cannabis from Italy, about some stories from Italy because it's the country where I come from. And then I started to collaborate with other news media organizations, including High Times, on Forbes. But at the same time, I cover Middle East news from the Middle East regarding politics and economics. And regarding cannabis, I also be an editor-in-chief of the Italian edition of Word. It was called Word Italy for 1 year and a half. And then now I'm working as a freelance journalist, both covering both cannabis and international news with a focus on the Middle East.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, I've subscribed to your Middle Eastern newsletter, and I highly suggest anybody who hasn't subscribed and is interested in learn about that territory of the world, check it out on his website. You can subscribe to everything there. But moving on to the first story for this podcast that I wanted to talk about, it's the JuicyFields story. It seems to be a big news at the moment in the cannabis industry, how a group of guys created an investment platform that turned into a Ponzi scheme and ran away with everybody's money. Can you maybe give everybody your expert overview of that scenario and that case so we can get people up to speed on it?
Well, yes, I started to cover JuicyFields Story just a few days ago, actually. Other publications such as Diario and El País Financiero covered this topic for months. Because of this alleged scheme, JuicyFields basically was a crowdfunding cannabis platform where people could invest to buy a plant to be cultivated, harvested, and sold. But at the same time, it was discovered that it could be a Ponzi scheme, in the sense that the website is not working. It's not working more actually, and people just cannot withdraw their deposits. And now there are some private investigation about what's going on there on JuicyFields platform. And actually, there are some lawyers working on it. Basically, it seems that the owners of the platform belong to 3 people with Russian passports, and they just disappeared. Even the CEO of the former CEO of the JuicyFields said he didn't know anything about that. But of course, the investigations are ongoing. There are not official news yet of the developing story. And basically, a Ponzi scheme is based on the fact that the early investor get the money from a newer investors. So in that way, the Ponzi scheme is a functioning for the owners to collect all money possible and disappear suddenly. And JuicyFields was mainly focused on cannabis cultivation, but investors, most of them were from Latin America, Spain, and Europe, with some users also from Asia and North America. But as the coverage suggests to me that most users were from Germany, Spain, and Latin America, and but they were also like Italian or British British users. So it was a very huge platform in terms of cannabis industry, because it counted about 500,000 users according to JuicyFields official records. But at the same time, the cannabis industry is a very new industry, is very volatile, and scams can happen like in any other new industries.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this won't be the last opportunistic company that we see preying on people's investment and people's money, because, as you said, it's still unregulated. There's still a lot of black holes to the industry. The latest article you wrote, we reposted on the Cannabis Review, was about Switzerland legalizing medical cannabis and imports and exports. Do you see those that we know Spain legalized, and they're saying within 6 months they're going to have a medical cannabis program up and running? Do you think Switzerland are going to be within that time frame, or within 12 months, or is it still too early to tell?
Well, cannabis business around was already legal for a specific disease conditions, but now from a 1st of August it will be fully legalized, which means patient won't have asked authorization to the agency, but simply a physician could prescribe cannabis for them. And also cannabis would be with a high level of CBD, although the THC should be capped at the 1%. But probably it could be more. We have to see about that, about the implementation of the law. And of course, could be a very good news for European countries which are lacking of supplies. For example, in Italy, most of the supplies come from the Netherlands and other parts of Europe, of Canada, through Aurora Cannabis company. And but also other states lacks of cannabis supply. So there are many patients that depends on what kind of conditions the legislation allowed to use medical cannabis. And also for Spain, which has recently legalized cannabis, although I have interviewed some experts in the field of Spanish cannabis industry, which have been told there's a very limited legislation which won't solve the problem at the moment.
Yeah, we had Dr. Adan de Salas Kiogra on the episode recently, and he was basically outlining that 6 months is a little bit ambitious for Spain to think, and even the language used in the ruling is still unclear, whether it's a specialized physician, or he was even saying that it's a doctor with no conflict of interest is the one who has to prescribe. But as I said, trying to figure out that web of knowledge will be a tough one for the Spanish regulators. I want to basically move on now to Middle East, North African cannabis and the various territories in there. Basically, there's a lot of countries, and I wanted to try and cover them all. So I've got a list of all the top countries in this space, and I basically want to run through them, and I want to get you to give them an A or an F, depending on how good their cannabis industry is. Okay, so that sound fair?
Sure.
Right. So first one is Algeria. Where does Algeria stand? A or F?
Well, except if we talk about regulation of cannabis, all the of recreational cannabis, all the Middle East countries are F, which means nobody legalized cannabis for recreational use. And so Algeria is included on that, although there are some illegal cultivation and some legal trafficking.
Okay, perfect. Bahrain?
Bahrain, the same. Also, even CBD is considered illegal because it's a part of the cannabis plant, which is considered illegal there as well.
Yeah, that's what we think. Bahrain is one of the strictest ones. Egypt, anything happening in Egypt?
Egypt has a long history of cannabis culture. Since the 18th century, there were or even before, it was largely consumed by the population, which is the most populated Arab country, but still is illegal. There are trafficking between Upper Sinai and with the border with Gaza Strip, and but it's illegal as well.
So Iran and Iraq, I'm pretty much going to put together. I presume it's as highly illegal there as it is in Bahrain, that there's not even a CBD market.
Yeah, I mean, Iran is even. I mean, drug trafficking could be punished with a death penalty as well.
Oh.
So Iraq, I'm not sure about death penalty, but of course it's illegal.
Yeah. Some of the countries seem to be now. Israel, we know of, obviously has a thriving medical industry at the moment and export industry.
Yeah, Israel is a different story. Israel, has no legalized recreational cannabis. Medical cannabis could be used for certain usage, but very exceptional. But at the same time, what's interesting about Israel is the research. We don't have to forget that THC was isolated there in 1964 by Mesholam. Dr. Rachel Mesholam in 1964 was isolated there. So it has long history with the research, and also recently is one of the largest import of cannabis. I think even more than Germany actually. And it started to export seeds to the US recently, in a couple of months ago.
Okay, so Jordan, is there any movement in Jordan? They seem to have a forward-thinking king. No?
No, Jordan as well, same legislation on what countries prohibited, and it's illegal.
And Kuwait, illegal as well. Lebanon?
Lebanon was the first country to legalize medical cannabis in 2020 with the hope to contain the economic crisis that started in late 2019. However, has not been implemented, the legislation. At the same time, so there is just a law, but it's not implemented. No companies working on it, no farmers as well. At the same time, Lebanon has long history with hashish. Lebanese hashish was one of the top-notch hashish in the world, along with Moroccan hashish, and it exported legally with drug trafficking route to Middle East country and Africa as well.
Yeah, I've just finished a book about the Phoenicians, and hashish in Lebanon crops up a little bit in it, the kings of trading in the Mediterranean a number of years ago. So how about Libya then? Is there any action in Libya?
Libya, there is no legislation as well. Everything is legal regarding cannabis.
Morocco, we know that there's a movement happening there to a degree.
Yeah, Morocco legalized medical cannabis and industrial hemp in 2021. And to contain also the drug trafficking there and help farmers from the Rif region to go legal. At the same time, Morocco is the first supplier of hashish or in the European continent. So it's so recreational cannabis still continue to be illegal, although there is some form of tourism regarding the legal cannabis crops. So European Western tourists goes to Morocco also to have a tour in these farms in the Rif region and other parts of the country.
Okay, so I'm going to bunch Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates and Yemen in together. No laws, pretty much not a chance of it.
To everyone, even regarding CBD. Some months ago or some years ago, I don't remember well, but a British citizen was jailed for carrying on CBD oil in United Arab Emirates as well. So it's strictly illegal.
And then Palestine, anything happening in Palestine?
In Palestine, also it's illegal, and also it's widely consumed in all this country you just mentioned. So, including Palestine, is cannabis consumed as well. But
And then
yeah,
we've got Syria, Tunisia, and Turkey. Anything happening?
yeah, all the country are illegal. Cannabis there is legal. Syria have some cultivation as well that could export something. Turkey is illegal as well. And what's the other country you just mentioned?
Tunisia.
Tunisia as well. They have good hashish quality. They have some crops. They export something, I believe, as well. But yeah, still illegal.
Okay, yeah, I think it's been very informative. I love learning about all the different territories that are happening at the moment. For anybody who hasn't read any of Dario's work, I highly recommend going to his website. The link is below and in the information below. Subscribe to the newsletters there. He's one of the top journalists covering cannabis as far as I'm concerned. So, Dario, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you very much, Shoaib.
It was an absolute pleasure. Hopefully we'll get to touch base at the start of next year and we'll get an update on some of these territories, and hopefully we've got some movement in Europe and further afield as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Until next episode, guys.